Well. Alright, hey everybody. I've had a little bit of a rough morning this morning. I was planning on going out flying my paramotor this morning. Woke up at 5:30 in the morning. Drove about a half an hour out to the launch site. Couldn't get it started, unfortunately, so I had to pack it back up. But at least when I got back to the airport this morning, I learned what I was doing wrong with priming the engine. So I think I'm not going to have that problem in the future. But anyway, figured I'd take the airplane out, do a flight with it. Last time we talked, I think, or one of the last times, I mentioned about doing a video on how to improve practice for instrument flying. So figure we'll do is we'll head out, we'll go down to, I'm thinking, Gross Eel, which is a cool little airport on an island in the middle of the Detroit River. We'll go ahead and do that, and on the way there, and possibly on the way back, we'll talk a little bit about practicing instrument flying. Talk to you in a bit.
Mooney 16 Delta Romeo, Whistle Run Tower, on course approved, runway 20 right, clear for takeoff, 12805, remain clear to class Bravo.
Clear for takeoff 23 right, remain clear to Bravo, Mooney 16 Delta Romeo. Alright, full power. Engine instruments are good, airspeed's alive. And a little bit of a crosswind here, 64, and rotate. Positive rate, you're coming up. 90 flaps up. And for those who've asked before, so what I normally do at this phase is I hold right around a 500 foot per minute climb as I accelerate to around 120. And then when I hit 120, that's usually what I climb out at. Off. And for today, I'm going to level out at 2,200. There's a little shelf of Metro's airspace here. It's 2,500, and we're going to be skirting it, if not actually going underneath part of it. So.
6 Delta Romeo, for exchange bridge.
Alright, good day. Talking a bit. 6 Delta Romeo. Oh, the other thing is I'm going to go a little slow today. Got a lot to talk about. Sounded a little Canadian there. So let's go nice and lean a peak. Low power setting. Alright, so instrument practice. So I think most pilots who have an instrument rating remember their first time in actual instrument conditions and remember what a shock it is compared to what it's like when you fly under the hood. I remember flying under the hood going, boy, you know, I don't know what people talk about instrument flying being tough. You know, this is quite easy, and you know, I've never had a problem with it. Everything was, you know, it was just fine. And then my instructor says, you know, it was a great instrument day today. Let's go out and get you some actual instrument time. And it was like a 700-foot overcast and in a fall day. So we get up, take off. I go into IMC, and all I remember is like, oh my God, this is like so much different than flying under the hood. It's really disorienting. And I think that's a lot of problems that new instrument students have, or not instrument students, or newly minted instrument pilots. Especially if they haven't had any actual instrument time, as I think you tend to get a little bit overconfident after flying under the hood, just because, as I mentioned, it's just a lot more disorienting at first anyway in actual instrument conditions than it is under a hood. So how do you cure that? You know, how do you practice instrument flying to give you that same kind of disorienting feeling that you get when you are flying in actual instrument conditions? So that's what we're going to talk about. And it all boils down to one basic thing, and And that's what everyone always knows. You know, to talk about when you're instrument flying is don't cheat. You know, the more you cheat, the more you get a reference for the outside. But it's not that simple, because your brain is an amazing thing, and your brain will do a lot of stuff that you don't even realize it's doing. So your brain is doing a lot of cheating for you without you even knowing that your brain is cheating. So that's the kind of thing that you need to prevent in order to make your instrument practice a little more effective and a little more realistic, like flying an actual IMC. There are a million ways that your brain cheats without you even knowing it. The big one, if you use foggles or one of the standard instrument hoods, is usually you'll get like a little bit of a piece of ground showing out of your peripheral vision here. And your brain gets a lot of information from that little bit of ground in the peripheral vision, especially if that ground has features on it like trees or houses or something. So you can see, like in here, maybe I'll move so you can see it, is if you do this, your brain will notice that those trees are moving this way or that way, and that will signal to your brain that you're starting a roll. Or they will notice that they move this way or that way, which means you're starting a pitch. So even though you're not concentrating on that, you may be doing your instrument scan out the side of your corner of your eye, you'll catch that the trees are moving in a way that they weren't moving just a quick second ago, and that alerts you to, oh, something about the airplane is changing, and it gets you back to a certain part of your instrument scan. Like, you may glance back at the attitude indicator to see if you started yourself in a bank. So how you overcome this, what we used to do is we used to do sectional charts, and sectional charts work really, really well for this because they're nice thick paper. But anything you have with thick paper, what you want to do is get your instrument hood on, sitting in your hangar, and figure out where you need to tape up some paper. Especially what you really want is thick enough paper, almost like cardboard, so you don't get any shadows or anything through it. So like I said, I used to tape sectional charts there, and I'd tape a small piece of a sectional chart here just to make sure that everything was blocked. And I think I may have even had like a little tiny one here and tiny one there, just to be sure that as I was like looking over at my engine instruments, I didn't catch a glimpse of the ground. And it's amazing how much of a difference that makes and how much more realistic that makes it feel. I'm going to start heading towards Grosse Ile now. Make sure I don't have any traffic around me. You got one guy going in over at Custer. There are other ways that your brain cheats without you knowing. The other way is shadows. Your brain will do a lot of cheating with shadows. If you have a nice overcast day, or if you're not going into the sun, it's not really a big deal. But like, for example, here I can kind of see a little bit of a glare off there from where the sun's position is. And same thing, there may be a glare up here, and you'll notice that glare may move. So like right now, it's all of a sudden really bright right here, and if I do this, now it's really bright over here. That gives you, once again, it's in the peripheral vision, but your brain will use that information to say, oh, I'm all of a sudden in a roll, or I'm all of a sudden pitching. And once again, it gives you an alert that you need to switch your focus right away. And it makes things less disorienting just because you have this extra cue. The other thing is, your knobs may cast shadows onto your instrument panel. Right now I can see my reflection because of the way the sun's coming in. These things, once again, are more cues that if you go into an unintended motion, unintended roll, or an unintended pitch, once again, quickly alerts your brain in your subconscious that something's going on with the airplane I need to pay a little more attention to. And all these things together make it such that it's calming. It's a calming feeling on you. Like I said, you don't have that disorientation. Alright, I'm going to go over a little bit to the east here towards the nuclear power plant, which they don't like airplanes going towards a nuclear power plant, but unfortunately I have another piece of traffic right at my altitude, right on my path. There's an airport up here called Buzzwick. So, getting back to the shadows and the glare and the other things that make your brain cheat a little bit without you knowing. The best way, really the only way to solve those, fly on overcast days, and the other one is flying at night. I found that to be really good at simulating instrument conditions is, you know, do your thing where you tape off so you can't see out of your peripheral vision, get those cheats out of the way. And then the other one is if you do that and you go at night, all the shadows are gone, any glare is gone, and that's probably been, for me, the best simulation of actual instrument flying that I've done. So I started practicing that way, and I found that it improved my instrument flying tremendously. I mean, in terms of flying in actual instrument conditions, because I think, as I said, at first it was very disorienting. And not only was it disorienting, it was disconcerting. And when it becomes that disconcerting, your heart starts to beat a little bit, your tension starts to rise, you start to get that narrowing of the focus, none of which is good for safety of flight. So ideally, you know, you want to try and remain as calm, relaxed, keep your head about you as much as possible. So disconcerted, getting that tunnel vision during flight, bad. That is bad for safety. So you definitely do not want to do that. So you want to work on getting as comfortable as possible when flying on instruments, so that feeling doesn't happen. Because as soon as you start to get that heart racing, that thing, like I said, your focus starts to narrow, and then you start.
Fox into Mike Oscar is just over the field.
You start losing your instrument scan. You start to fixate on certain things, and none of which is good. So do your best to try and make it as realistic as possible. Get rid of all your potential cheats. Don't cheat by looking up. Don't cheat subconsciously by taping off your peripheral vision areas. And get some practice in doing that. Once you get that, you start to get used to that feeling of going long stretches of time without seeing the outside world. I mean, you know, under the hood, you know, that's pretty cool, but when you always have this little bit of sliver of ground in your peripheral vision, that gives you a certain sense of comfort. And like I said, you need to go a long period of time without that, you know, safety blanket of the being able to see the outside ground there. So give that a shot. Let me know how it goes, and if you have any good stories of your first time in IMC, and whether to you it seemed just like the same as practice, or you were like me and you were rather surprised at how different it was than practice, let me know. In the meantime, we're almost to Grosse Ile. The airport, you can see the clearing in the trees at the south end of this island. Go ahead and enter left downwind. I'm going to come over here. Haven't heard any traffic there, don't see any on the map, but I'm going to do a little more of a
descending through 4,200 for
left midfield crosswind. You know what?
33.
Yeah, it is left traffic, so I want to be sure. Oh, you know what? They don't want you overflying the...
Fox into Mike Oscar is 5 miles south. Climbing through 3 for 3.5 into Mike Oscar.
Grosse Ile traffic, Mooney 16 Delta Romeo. 3 to the star 4 of the southwest, inbound 22, Grosse Ile. Nice big Great Lakes freighter. It's one of the 1,000-footers. Tell by the design. On the Great Lakes, generally, ships are limited to 1,000 feet of length because that's the biggest can get through the various lock systems connecting the Great Lakes to the connecting the Great Lakes plus the Great Lakes to the ocean. And by the way, straight off the nose, on the other side of the river, that's Canada. So, gotta be a little bit careful, make sure we don't go into Canada.
Traffic Golf Alpha Delta Kilos over the field at 1.6 for the Midwest downwind, 33 Sarnia, full stop.
Grosse Ile traffic, Mooney 16 Delta Romeo, left downwind 22, Grosse Ile. My altitude control's not good today. Towards Canada, you can probably see downtown Detroit right there. Don't know how well it's going to show up on GoPro.
7 Delta Charlie, left base runway 23.
Grosse Ile traffic, Mooney 16 Delta Romeo, left base 22, Grosse Ile. Field traffic, Mooney 16 Delta Romeo, turn final, 22 Gross Hill. A little bit of lift there. Gears down. Actually, only my third time landing here. Once was in the middle of winter and all the runways were just completely snow covered. That was kind of a cool flight. And then flew a Great Lakes biplane. And for whatever reason, we decided to come to Gross Hill. That was out of Ann Arbor. The biplane was based in Ann Arbor. Got a little lesson in it, so my only tail dragger time. Alright everybody, that's it. A little spiel on instrument practice. I guess it's not rocket science, it's kind of obvious, you know. Don't cheat. But, as I said, unfortunately, your brain does a lot of cheating without you knowing, so hopefully that's helpful. You're working on your instruments rating, or next time you go out and do any practice or get your currency back, give it a try. See how it works. It is definitely a lot more realistic. Hopefully, you do enough of it, you get comfortable enough with it. Once you get into actual instrument conditions, it won't be that big of a deal. So that's it for this time. Talk to you guys later.